Greetings. I am Professor Skullstein. Welcome to another story drawn from the depths of history. Today's story is about the lost colony of Roanoke. Let's dive into the heart of the story. In the summer of 1590, an English governor named John White returned to a small island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. 3 years earlier, he had left more than 100 men, women, and children there. Among them was his own daughter and his infant granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child ever born in the New World. When White finally set foot on the island again, he found it silent, completely deserted. The houses had been taken down carefully. The settlement was empty. There were no signs of battle, no bodies, no smoke, no blood. Only a single clue remained. Carved into the wood of a post was one word, CROATOAN, and with that single word began one of the greatest mysteries in American history. The story of Roanoke begins with ambition and with dreams of empire. In 1584, Queen Elizabeth I granted a charter to her favorite courtier, Sir Walter Raleigh. His mission, to establish England's first permanent colony in the Americas. Raleigh never led an expedition himself, but he financed several voyages. The first English landing came in 1585 on a small island called Roanoke. It was led by a man named Ralph Lane. They built a fort, but soon ran out of supplies. Relations with the local Algonquian tribes turned sour, and within a year, they abandoned the island and sailed back to England. Still, Raleigh was not ready to give up. 2 years later, in 1587, he sent another group, this time families, ordinary settlers, men, women, and children, 115 of them. Their leader was John White, an artist, a map maker, and now a governor. The plan was to build a town further north, near the Chesapeake Bay, but their ship's pilot, Simon Fernandez, refused to go that far. He left them at Roanoke, at the same site where the first colony had failed. No one knows why. Some say he was impatient. Others believe he had secret orders. The settlers had no choice. They began to rebuild, repairing old structures, planting crops, and trying to establish peace with the native people. In August 1587, John White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Virginia. It was a hopeful moment, a sign that perhaps, this time, the colony would survive. But hope soon faded. Supplies ran low. The settlers begged White to return to England for help. It was a painful decision. He left his family behind, promising to come back soon. But when he reached England, war had broken out. Spain's Great Armada was approaching. Every ship was needed for defense, and White's return was delayed for 3 long years. When he finally made it back, in 1590, he found only silence. The fort was empty, the walls still stood, but everything inside had been taken down. No sign of a struggle, no sign of his family. The word CROATOAN was carved deep into a wooden post, and the letter CRO appeared on a nearby tree. White had given the settlers a code before he left. If they ever had to move, they were to carve the name of their destination. If they were in danger, they were to carve a cross beneath it. There was no cross, which meant they had left willingly. White believed the colonists had gone to live with their allies, the CROATOAN people, on an island now known as Hatteras. He wanted to sail there at once, but a storm struck. The anchor broke. The captain refused to continue, and John White was forced to sail back to England, never to see his family again. The colony had vanished, and with it, a piece of history. For centuries, people have searched for the truth. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Why did more than 100 men, women, and children simply vanish? Over time, fragments of evidence have appeared. Pieces of pottery, metal tools, rumors, legends, and from them came theories, many theories. The first theory is the most peaceful one, that the colonists survived and joined a nearby tribe. The word CROATOAN points directly to that idea. The CROATOAN tribe, led by a man named Manteo, had been friendly to the English. They traded food, shared knowledge, and even sent Manteo to England years earlier. If the settlers were starving, alone, desperate, they may have gone south, seeking help. On Hatteras Island, archaeologists have found English artifacts, fragments of swords, gun parts, broken pottery, objects from the late 1500s. They could only have come from Roanoke. Some native families on the Carolina coast were later described with gray eyes and lighter features, perhaps the descendants of those who disappeared. Another theory is that the settlers traveled inland toward the Chesapeake Bay. That was their original goal before being left at Roanoke. Maybe they sailed north or walked through the forest, searching for safer ground. When Jamestown was founded in 1607, only 17 years after Roanoke vanished, some native tribes told the newcomers strange stories of a village where Englishmen had lived. Some even said the great chief Powhatan had attacked them. Powhatan himself reportedly told Captain John Smith that he had wiped out a group of whites living under his rule. He even showed English tools and clothing. As proof, if that tale is true, the lost colony may have survived for years, only to meet a violent end. But no graves, no bodies, no solid evidence was ever found. A third theory blames Spain. At the time, England and Spain were bitter enemies. Spain already had colonies in Florida and claimed the Carolinas as their territory. It is possible a Spanish force sailed north, found the English, and destroyed them. Spanish records mention a search in 1588 for an English outpost. But according to the reports, they found nothing. No settlement, no captives, and when John White arrived in 1590, he saw no fire, no ruins, no signs of battle. If the Spanish had found Roanoke, surely they would have bragged about it. They love to boast about their victories, but history is silent, so this theory remains possible, but unproven. Then there is the simplest idea of all, that the colonists died slowly, quietly, from hunger, from thirst, from disease. Scientists have studied ancient trees from the region. Their rings tell a hidden story. Between 1587 and 1589, the area suffered an extreme drought, the worst in 800 years. Rivers dried up, crops failed, even the native tribes went hungry. The settlers may have tried to hold on until they could no longer. Perhaps they scattered, some to CROATOAN, others inland, searching for food until they were lost, one by one. Another possibility is that they tried to sail home. They still had a small ship, a pinnace, left behind. Maybe they built another from the wood of their houses, set out to sea, hoping to reach England, and never returned. No record, no survivor, no wreck, only silence. Some believe the colonists were attacked, not by Powhatan, not by Spain, but by other hostile tribes nearby, perhaps ambushed while moving through the forests, captured or killed far from the island, where no one would ever find them. There are stories from later settlers of fair-skinned natives speaking broken English, of blue-eyed children among the tribes, maybe the last echoes of Roanoke. And then there are the legends, the ones that live outside history, in the realm of whispers and superstition. They say the island was cursed, that something ancient took the colonists, that their voices still drift through the pines on nights when the fog rolls in from the sea. The word CROATOAN became more than a clue. It became a warning, a symbol of vanishing. Centuries later, The same word was said to appear again, carved or written in places tied to mysterious disappearances. Some say it was found written in the room where Edgar Allan Poe died. Others claim it appeared in the journal of the missing pilot, Amelia Earhart, or on the bedpost of the writer Ambrose Bierce before he vanished in Mexico, and even on the wall of a prison cell belonging to an outlaw who was never seen again. None of these tales can be proven, but the word lives on, as a ghost, echoing across time. Over the centuries, the search for Roanoke has never truly ended. Archaeologists have dug through the sands of the Outer Banks. They have searched forests, islands, rivers, and coastal villages. They have found small pieces, fragments of English life, a metal buckle, a shard of pottery, a broken sword. Each discovery brings hope, but never the answer. Even today, the island keeps its secrets. The forests have swallowed the traces of the past. The sea has taken what the land forgot. Each new theory where it feels close and then slips away, like the tide. Maybe that is what makes Roanoke so haunting. It is not simply a story of failure. It is a story of mystery, of people who dared to cross an ocean and disappeared into history. They came to build a new life, to plant a flag, to raise their children, to bring England to the edge of the world. But instead, they became part of the wilderness, part of the land, part of the legend. For some, the lost colony ended in tragedy. For others, it became something more, a beginning that was never finished, a question that no one could answer. The word carved into the wood, CROATOAN, still stands as a whisper from the past, a single word, heavy with meaning. Was it a direction, a message, a name, or something else entirely? More than 400 years later, we still do not know. When night falls on Roanoke Island, the wind moves through the trees, the ocean sighs against the shore, and if you stand there long enough, you might think you hear voices, faint, distant, carried on the breeze, the laughter of children, the echo of a woman's song, the sound of footsteps fading away. But when you turn, there is only the forest and the endless sound of the sea. Perhaps that is how this story should remain. A mystery without an ending, a question carried by the waves. Somewhere out there, maybe the descendants of the lost colony still live. In faces, in stories, in the blood of people who no longer know where they came from. Or perhaps they are gone forever, claimed by the wilderness, by hunger, by time, by the unknown. What we know is this: they came with hope, they vanished with silence, and left behind only one word, carved into wood, CROATOAN. The rest was taken by the wind. Even now, historians continue to search. Each discovery draws them closer, and yet the truth remains just beyond reach. Perhaps it always will. Because some mysteries are not meant to be solved. They are meant to be remembered, to remind us that the past is not gone. It only waits, quietly, beneath the surface of time. And so, the story of the lost colony of Roanoke lives on, not in what we know, but in what we can never know. The professor's voice softens, almost a whisper now. Somewhere on that island, beneath the pines and the drifting fog, history sleeps, and the only sound that remains is a single word, echoing through the centuries: CROATOAN.